The time is now 6 p.m. Our regular City Council meeting for December 6, 2022 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Dalla will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Good evening, everyone. Please bow your heads. Lord, we pray for our leaders at all levels of government tonight, both elected and unelected. Grant them with your heavenly wisdom, help them to lead and govern with integrity, and always give them the strength to do what is right for the benefit of everyone. As we welcome and embrace our new city manager tonight, we likewise pray for your guidance and direction. Guide us in the work that we do, that we may do it not for self alone, but for the common good. Teach us always to perform our job faithfully and diligently, so that we will always be a blessing and a source of inspiration to our family, friends, and co-workers, as well as to the people that we serve. We ask you, Father, to bless us as we do our work and all our undertakings today. May we find pleasure in serving the people, because we know that by serving them, we are serving you. Give us always the strength to do, patience to bear, and let our courage never fail us. All of these things we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Dalla. One quick note, due to technical difficulties, the video presentation for those of you viewing on YouTube will not be available. So, and on occasion, you'll see us looking up. So please bear with us. All right, we'll start off with a special presentation. Mr. Freddie Degollado, and we have Ms. Schramm.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's a great picture there of our Grand Marshal of our July 4th Jubilee Parade, Mr. Freddie Degollado. I have the honor and privilege tonight of recognizing his service to the city of Schertz. He's been with the YMCA for over 35 years, and I said, wow. And Freddie said, don't say wow, I started when I was 5. I just meant wow. It's great. It's really great, the amount of service that he's given to the YMCA and to the city. Just a little timeline of his contributions here to Schertz. In 2010, we opened up the Recreation Center, and Freddie was at the helm of that when the Family Y opened. In 2015, we added the Schertz Aquatic Center, or the Senior Center, excuse me, the operations of that. He worked through that with us. In 2017, we opened the Aquatic Center. Freddie was right there working with us as well, and my predecessor, Chuck Van Zant. In 2018, he was part of the very critical part of the inaugural planning committee for Moving on Main that Mayor Gutierrez started as well, and that's been a success for several years now. Great event for Schertz. And then we started a lot of aquatic events, the Polar Bear Plunge, the Underwater Egg Hunt, the Paws in the Pool, the Dunkin' for Pumpkins. That was all partnership with Freddie and us and Deseret and the aquatic staff there at the Y. We couldn't do any of those without them. He did retire in July 2022, and as July is our crazy month, we didn't get a chance to recognize him then, but we are here to do so tonight. Thank you for your service to the city of Schertz, and best wishes in your future endeavors. If you'll come up, we have a gift for you, and I'll have Mayor Gutierrez come down and present.
You did so well.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Go ahead. Would you like to say a few words, Freddie?
He said, you want to say a few words? He turned the mic on. I said, I guess not. I guess. So good evening. Thank you, Mayor Gutierrez and City Council. And some of these things, what they really mean is you've been here a long time is kind of what that means. But I've been just so fortunate to live and work in this community. I think we moved here in like 1972. My family, my dad was retired Air Force out here. I was on the chamber board, and Maggie and I were actually walking through the chamber house one day, and I looked on the wall and I said, oh, that's my dad. I didn't realize he had started the Schertz, at the time it was called the Schertz Business Club. And that turned into what is now the chamber. And I didn't realize, hey, I was a second generation chamber member. So love this community. I used to joke all the time. I'd tell everybody, I don't know why y'all just don't move to Schertz. And now everyone did. Like, so part of this is my fault, but I can't imagine, just looking back, the city managers we've had here, the mayors, just amazing leadership we've had over the city of Schertz, and we've just been super blessed to be just a small part of that. And if you guys really look back, I mean, this city council, ones prior to that, just amazing leadership over the time. I've had the opportunity to work with so many just amazing leaders. We've had a blast. I know Lauren and Jared and her staff have been amazing to work with. We've done so many different events and so many different things, and it takes folks like these who say yes to those activities, because sometimes you come up with these ideas and everyone kind of shoots it down, but we've done a lot of different things, and so we have a lot of people to be thankful for and grateful for everything that we've been able to accomplish. And I know Brian, I want to say thank you to Brian. He's been here with us since the beginning. So Brian's been a large part of everything we've done here in this community, and again, it takes a lot of folks to say yes. I think my wife has been through probably more YMCA and city events than probably anybody in history. We've both been to a ton of events, and I know Mayor Gutierrez and I would talk a lot, and we drag each other into different events. So thank you, Mayor Gutierrez, for everything you've done and all your leadership. And again, I've been just so fortunate for this community has embraced this Y and all the different activities so great. This is the largest Y in the region, and by far most successful. We're over, I think, 14,000 or so members here at this. I said we at this Y, a little over 14,000 members. It's just an amazing accomplishment. After year one, 2010, we had I think 1,100, and we thought, man, we're killing it. We're doing great. And here we are sitting over 14,000 folks that remember this Y now. So just amazing. And you know, I get to get this award and see these things, but none of this is all possible. I was just fortunate and smart enough to hire this amazing crew that's right over here. So these guys, would y'all stand up for a second? This YMCA staff. So these guys work tirelessly to get all these things done. So thank you guys for everything you've done over the years, and just I've been just fortunate to be a small part of it. So thank you guys for a little bit of time. Thank you for this award, and we certainly appreciate it. And we'll be around still. So,
You know, Freddie, you said you've been fortunate. Actually, our city has been fortunate, and our city has been blessed to have Freddie be a part of our city and a part of our team. As you can see, the accomplishments that he has up there. Moving on Main, I remember it was just a small little discussion we had in his office, and then we said, why don't we work on it? And look at what it's turned out to be. There's several different things. I didn't know pumpkins floated until I went to it. Say, are you really serious? And then we threw in, 7,000 Easter eggs into the pool. It's just been amazing. That's the fun part about being a mayor, is the activities and certainly the leadership that you brought to the staff. Excellent, excellent. I was one of the first 1,100 to join, and when we saw the YMCA just open up the doors, we were blessed. We were blessed as a city to have it, and even more blessed to have you run it. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything, all your contributions to our city and our community. Thank you.
thanks so much.
We'll move on to the introduction of our Schertz Youth Leaders for 2023 class. Ms. Casey?
Awesome, thank you. Good evening. I am here to introduce our inaugural class of Schertz Young Leaders. The purpose of this program is to create an opportunity for students to learn about their community while also developing leadership skills and preparing to make positive impacts on our community in the future. They will be introduced to multiple facets of our community during this 6-month program, including local government, education, community businesses, and the Randolph Air Force Base. Each of these students had to apply, and their applications were graded on quality, academics, short answers, and an essay. As a part of the program, they must all attend one city council meeting, one SCUC ISD board meeting, and volunteer at one event or volunteer project. We've had one session so far, so we got to all get together and meet, and they discussed leadership and personality styles and got a chance to get to know one another. And after spending the day with them, I can already tell we've got a really great group, so I'd like to allow them to each come up and introduce themselves to you tonight. Nicholas?
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Aikman. I'm currently a junior at Samuel Clemens High School. Although I've lived in Schertz for only about 2 years, my family has been here for many generations. I am the co-captain of my Samuel Clemens cross-country team and a National Honor Society member. Currently, I work at the YMCA as a lifeguard, and after I graduate, I'd hope to become a naval aviator. Thank you for your time.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marissa Estremera. I am currently a student at Byron P. Steele High School. I'm a sophomore. I am on the dance team, and I am FCCLA's Region 5 president. In my future, I hope to go to law school. I want to become a lawyer. And I just want to thank everyone in Schertz for giving me the opportunity to be part of this program. It's going to really help me in my future. Thank you all so much.
Hello, I'm Genevieve Hercule. I'm 15 years old, and I am a sophomore at St. Mary's Hall. I've been living here in Schertz since I was 7 with my family, so I'm just really honored to be in this program to just, touch up on my leadership skills. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Evan Reed. I am a sophomore at Samuel Clemens High School. I'm on the baseball team. I'm really glad I was accepted into Schertz Young Leaders to set me up for future opportunities. And I've been living in Civil for 2 years, but I really do enjoy the opportunities that you guys will bring to me. So just thank you.
Hi, my name is Erilyn Soroy. I am a freshman at Samuel Clemens High School. My favorite subjects in school are math and history. Outside of school, I enjoy playing volleyball, hanging out with friends, and reading. I'm really excited to be a part of this program. I'm excited to learn more, and by our first meeting, I really enjoyed it, so I'm excited for what's to come, so thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gutierrez and all the other council members present. I've done this before with the Schertz We Are Court, so I know some of y'all, and it's nice to be back. My name is Colin Gillespie. I'm a senior at Samuel Clemens High School. I participate in the DECA Business Club. I'm also a varsity cheerleader and on the varsity track team, and I'm also in the marching band. And my goal next year is to be at TSU, and I want to major in education and hopefully become a teacher. And being in this program would help me with that because you need leadership in order to lead young students. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Good evening, y'all. My name is William Davis. I am currently a senior at Samuel Clemens. In the future, I would like to attend St. Philip's College to earn my culinary arts degree and hopefully open up a restaurant here in the Schertz area. I'm glad I'm a member of this club because I feel like it will give me leadership skills and good vocal communication to properly run a restaurant. And we need more restaurants here. That's something. And they agree.
We're working on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In all seriousness, though, thank you so much for opening this opportunity to give students like us an opportunity to be leaders just like y'all. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
So that's our inaugural class of Schertz Young Leaders, and some of y'all will get to know them a little bit better when we do our local government session in February.
Thank you, Cassie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these are the ambassadors for the city of Schertz, but most important, the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you all so much for being part of this, and it is the first time that we have this program, and we look forward to the opportunity. And by the way, this council meeting doesn't count. Yeah. Okay, thank you all, appreciate it. All right, we'll move on. New staff introductions. We'll start with the utility billing.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. Tonight I would like to introduce to you our newest utility billing clerk, Crystal Rubio, and our newest meter technician, Richard Gomez. Crystal was born in San Antonio but raised in Cibolo. She graduated from Steele High School in 2010. She moved away for a bit but recently moved back to Cibolo. She is currently attending Wayland Baptist University. She is married with 3 children. She is excited to re-enter the workforce again and looks forward to growing with the city of Schertz. She's too shy to speak, but she is very thankful for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Welcome to our team.
Thank you.
And to my left is Richard. He is born and raised from San Antonio. He is married to his beautiful wife, Ashley. After meeting his wife, they relocated to Cibolo. He has 4 crazy kiddos. He is a proud fan of the Dallas Cowboys. Otherwise, he would not be on my team. No, I'm just kidding. He's a proud fan of the Houston Astros and the San Antonio Spurs. He's very excited to be a part of the City of Schertz team and is looking forward to growing with the city. Did you want to speak?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome to our team.
Thank you.
Next, we have Fleet and Facility Services.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. My name is John Wolstead. I'm the City Facilities Manager. I'd like to introduce the 2 new members of our team. I have Toby Salazar. He's our new plumber's apprentice. His favorite part of the job is the friendly people. And his favorite football team, unfortunately, is the San Francisco 49ers. And his hobby, he likes to go for long drives. And we have, I'll show you. Oh, sure.
Thank you, everyone, for having me and welcoming me with welcome arms. I'm excited to be here and grow with the city of Schertz. Thank you.
Welcome to our team.
And to my left, I have Michael Hernandez. He's our new groundskeeper. And his favorite part of the job is also the friendly people. See, we have a theme here in facilities. We're pretty friendly, and throughout the entire city. And his favorite football team is the Dallas Cowboys. All right, yeah. And his hobby is reloading. So if you like to...
I'd like to thank you all.
Well, welcome aboard, gentlemen. Next, we'll move on to Public Affairs.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams, please help me in welcoming my new event attendant, Lonnie Corso. He comes to us from Stockton, California. He's been here over 10 years and married to his lovely wife, Jackie, and he has 2 daughters, Mackenzie and Samantha. We actually had our opportunity to steal him away from the New Braunfels Convention Center, so we're very happy to have him. He's well-trained and already knows everything that we do. Lonnie, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome aboard, sir. Thank you. Next, we have Public Works, Streets.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. I'd like to introduce our newest street worker 1. This is Silas Pitts. He has 3 girls, 1 boy, and a white husky named Luna. His first job, he worked at West Telemarketing. What he likes about the job is the people and the atmosphere. His favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. Why? Because of the food. So, he likes playing basketball. Favorite sports team, 49ers, Warriors, and Spurs. His dream vacation, either in Paris or Jamaica. Science and history was his favorite class in school, and he loves spending time with family or on the beach or at a park. Silas Pitts.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to retiring, hopefully from here, and my family growing here as well.
We look forward to that long career. Next is Animal Services.
Bring this down. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. Tonight I'm going to introduce to you our two newest animal control officers. First, I will introduce to my left Cleotilde Padilla. She goes by Cleo. Cleo comes to us from Eagle Pass, Texas, where she was born and raised and lived until she graduated high school. After she graduated, she moved to Laredo, where she attended Texas A&M International University, which she graduated fall of 2021 with a Bachelor's of Science in Biology. Cleo adores helping animals and people, so she's very, very excited to be a part of the Schertz team.
I want to thank everyone for being so welcoming here. Thank you.
Welcome to our team.
Next, I have Daniela Shapiro to my right. Daniela was born in San Antonio, Texas, but she was raised in Mexico City. And she has been currently she's a resident of Schertz for 15 years. She is a mother of 7, 4 human babies, 3 fur babies, so 7 total. She has always dreamed of working with animals since she was a young girl, so she's very happy to be here. I'm very, very impressed with these 2 ladies so far.
I want to thank you all for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to being part of this family.
Welcome aboard. And, next is the Police Department.
Good evening, council members, Mayor, Mr. Williams. It's my pleasure to introduce our newest police officer, Matthew Bryce Potter. Matthew was born in San Antonio, where he graduated Somerset High School in 2018. He attended some college in San Angelo State in 2018 and 2019. Moved back to San Antonio, where he started his own delivery company in 2020. After that, he decided to do the noble profession of becoming a police officer and attended ACOG and graduated in October of 2022. As most teenagers do, they like to play video games on his off time. I'm just kidding. He's actually 22 years old, so. And what he wants to do is, as a police officer, he wants to take dogs off the street and eventually become a canine handler. Here, let me find it.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Welcome to our team. Next, we have the Fire Department.
Which one's on what side? There you go. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. How are you this evening? Tonight I have the honor of introducing our 2 newest members. I believe they started on the same day, if I remember correctly. I'll start with Timothy Dyer. He's our newest firefighter. Timothy is new to Schertz, but not new to the fire service. He kind of did some work in South Hays County, actually with Chief Kramer. So he's kind of handpicked and recruited there a little bit for our benefit. He started with us on November 7th. He's from Lubbock, Texas, where he graduated from Littlefield High School. He currently lives in Schertz with his wife, Ashley, and his daughter, Braylee. And in his free time, he enjoys volunteering with South Hays and hunting. Please welcome Timothy to our Schertz family.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome to our team, Tim.
Also have the honor of introducing our new Assistant Fire Chief, Dan Kramer, AKA also known as Brad. He is an introvert, and Brad started this on 11/7. He's from Carmel, Indiana, where he graduated Carmel High School. He has a master's in public administration from Sam Houston State and a bachelor's in emergency management administration from West Texas A&M. Currently lives in San Marcos with his wife and 3 kids. 7-year-old daughter, Amara, whose birthday is today, where he's leaving, yeah. 3-year-old daughter, Isla, and 1-month-old son, Maverick. Yes, that is in tune with Top Gun. And his free time, based on what we just said, he loves spending time with his family. Please welcome Mr. Kramer.
Chief asked me to prepare about a 20-minute speech, so if you all don't mind, but no, really, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Welcome, Chief. You know, we just introduced the new employees, and I actually have one right here next to me on my left-hand side here. I'd like to welcome our new city manager, Steve Williams. I'm bad with bad last names, believe me. But Steve joins us from, he was at the city of Conroe for close to 17 years, right when they were in the verge of growing, and they grew from 37,000 to over 100,000 residents. And that's where we're at. We're at 44,000, and the growth is just coming to us, and it's hitting us hard. And we're fortunate to have Steve here with us at this point in time, and where our city needs our city manager to lead us to the new heights that are waiting for us. Steve, welcome. Welcome to our team.
Thank you.
We'll move on with city events and announcements. Announcements of upcoming events. Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Tuesday, December 13th, we will be back here for the next regularly scheduled City Council meeting at 6 p.m. And then a couple of announcements regarding elections. So we'll be having a runoff for City Council Place 2 and the mayor. The early voting will be from Monday, December 19th through Friday, December 23rd, and Monday, December 26th through Friday, December 30th. This will apply to all Schertz residents regardless of the county that they reside in. Voting will take place from 8 to 5. This is early voting again at the Schertz Elections Office Annex, which is at 1101 El Bell Road, or the second location at Seguin Elections Office, which is at 215 South Milam Street in Seguin. Again, that applies to all Schertz residents regardless of the county that they reside in. The election day for the runoff is Tuesday, January 3rd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There will be only one voting location, and that will be at the Schertz Elections Office Annex at 1101 Elbow Road. So again, that's one voting location for Schertz residents. It applies to all Schertz residents regardless of the county that they reside in. More information on elections can be found on our website at schertz.com, or any questions can be directed to the city secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. All right, announcements and recognitions by our city manager.
No announcements, Mayor. I would like to comment. Thank you for the welcome, and I would like to make some comments regarding my first 5 days here, if that's okay.
That's fine, yes.
I just want to echo the sentiment of everything else you heard with all of these other new employees, how welcoming everybody is. I've been here 5 days, and it feels like I've been here a month already. And that's because I've learned a lot, but also because everybody is so welcoming. I'm very encouraged about the attitude and the positive nature of the team here, as well as the strength of the staff. It's very impressive, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. I'm also encouraged by seeing our youth back there in that group, just an impressive group of young leaders, and it's encouraging to know that we have those folks out there in our community. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I do have two announcements. First of all, thank you to our city staff. deck the halls and holly dazzle. It could not have been accomplished with the entire city staff. The event was very successful, and we thank you for all that work that you put into it. Thank you so much. Next, my other announcement is in reference to the businesses located in Long Beach, California. I know you're reconsidering relocation, and we'd like for you to consider Schertz as your options. If you invest in us, we invest in you. So please, if you're in Long Beach, California, and you want to relocate, we welcome you with open arms. All right, we'll move on. The hearing of residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the City Council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. Mayor Pro Tem, please call first speaker.
First speaker is Maggie Titterington.
Good evening, Council. Just a few announcements and updates. It was very cool to see the young leadership inaugural class. I was just sharing with Sarah, we're very pleased because our April class of our leadership corps will be taking them with us to the Capitol. So we visit the Capitol every year with Leadership Corps, whether they are in session or not. Unfortunately, of course, well, fortunately, they are in session in April, and so we will be making arrangements and probably having a buddy for each of them. I do have 9 students in my class. There is 7 students if I counted right, but we're very excited to do this and help kick off your inaugural class and just actually hopefully open up a totally new avenue of understanding of our legislature to them. Also, we have our Health and Home Show coming up on January 28th, formerly the Health and Wholeness Show. So the only change that we have added is we have had a lot of home providers for the health of your home. So could be plumbers, could be general contractors for the home, fix-it persons. So we have actually split it to where the grand ballroom will be all the health providers doing free flu shots. We partner with the city of Schertz on this. Free health screenings. The whole event is free to come into. It's from 10 to 1, but in the Bluebonnet Hall portion, we're going to actually have 18 home providers for the health of your home. So great event, 10 to 1. Thank our naming sponsor, which is Methodist Healthcare Northeast, and of course our partner sponsor, the City of Schertz. So please make plans to come out January 28th from 10 to 1. And then we just celebrated Raising Cane's. Thank you, Councilman Scagliola, for coming out, and also Councilwoman Whitaker. 10 years. I remember they were one of the first ribbon cuttings that we were doing when they opened up, and they had all the excitement and stuff, and we're celebrating 10 years of them servicing Schertz residents, and it was a huge crowd. It was a great time, and we were just so pleased, and we're looking forward to at least 10, 20, 30 more years of them being successful. And very last is next week you will be seeing on your consent agenda a project that I have brought forward to you since probably the early summer. As you all know, Vicki Contreras passed away, and gosh, Contreras Flowers has been a Main Street staple forever, from when we moved here back in '72 to just even being part of our chamber and helping us with our awards. And so we're so excited that Gray House Blooms is this close to getting the doors open, and so they'll be going for the Main Street grant, another new business planting back on Main Street. And the really neat thing is that Jerry, one of the ladies, actually worked with Vicki, and so it's almost carrying on the tradition of Contreras Flowers, or at least the spirit of it, but a totally new spin, what they're going to do inside. And so that'll come before you all next week for approval for that granting, but just very excited to have another new business planting on Main Street. And I'm done. Thank you very much.
Is that it?
There's no other names.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to consent agenda items. These items are considered self-explanatory, and information packets were provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, minutes. Consideration or action regarding the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting on October 11th, 2022 and October 25th, 2022. Item number 2, resignation and appointments of various boards, commissions, and committees. Consideration or action approving the resignation of Mr. Paul Ringenbach as a regular member of the Historical Preservation Committee and approve Mr. Miguel Vasquez to the Historical Preservation Committee. Item number 3, the approval of the 2023 master calendar. Item number 4, resolution number 22R133, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an addendum to the LESO Program State Plan of Operations, the acknowledgement of the certification of notification for law enforcement agencies to potentially acquire controlled property and other matters in connection therewith. Item number 5, resolution number 22R138, consideration or action approving a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a task order agreement with Half Associates for not to exceed amount of $330,000 for the Lookout Road reconstruction project. Mayor Pro Tem, please continue reading the rest of the consent items.
Item number 6, Resolution 22R80, consideration and action approving a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a professional service agreement with Freese & Nichols, Inc. for update of the city comprehensive plan. Number 7, resolution number 22R120, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz authorizing an agreement with Slurico Services for the Schertz Area Senior Center Nutrition Program. Number 8, resolution number 22R131, a resolution by the City of Schertz authorizing an amendment to the School Resource Officer Program amendment with the Schertz-Cibolo Universal City Independent School District and other matters in connection therewith. Number 9, Resolution 22R139, consideration and action by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an increase to the contract with Cut Right Landscaping for Cibolo Valley Drive Medians Landscaping Project. Number 10, Resolution 22R140, consideration and action approving a resolution authorizing the revised bylaws of the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee and other matters in connection therewith. Number 11, ordinance number 22T43, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an adjustment to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget to fund audiovisual improvements for municipal court, repealing all ordinance and parts of the ordinance in conflict with this ordinance, and providing an effective date. Final reading.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Council, do any of these need to be pulled for separate action? Okay, I'd like to go ahead and pull number 7. I'm going to pull that one out. Is there a motion to approve items 1 through 5, 6, and items 8 through 11?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Whitaker, second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We'll come back to item number 7, resolution number 22R120, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an agreement with Celrico Services for the Schertz Area Senior Center Nutrition Program. Ms. Shrum, thank you for coming up here. I just have one item. Is there a mechanism for the meals that are not adequate or tasteful or whatever it might be, where the senior center director may contact Celrico and object to those meals being served in the future?
Yes, so we do have a feedback comment card process where they're able to provide feedback to the vendor. The menu is designated, a month in advance, and all those meals are designed by a dietitian. But we are able to provide feedback, whereas if there's just something that we've got immense feedback on that they just do not like, we ask that it not be placed on a future menu.
Okay.
So yes.
And the reason I asked, I visit the senior center on a regular basis, and I get so many comments regarding some of the food that is being served. And I had, I'm not sure whether or not that was available to the director to say, take this off the menu. We don't want to see it. Our seniors are really not happy with this. Although there has been other meals that they are just loving it. But on occasion, there is that one meal that's not.
Correct, there is that process, yes,
Okay.
and I've spoken to the director about it. We've done it in the past, we haven't lately. But yes, quality control is part of this contract. We definitely need to stay on top of it and make sure that they provide the best quality that they can.
All right, thank you. I have no other
Do you wanna-
questions.
I'm sorry. Do you want to mention, though, Claire, it's not in the contract that we can necessarily dictate that, and they provide meals to others, so while they have that feedback loop?
Correct, it's not in the contract that we can dictate that a meal be removed from the menu, but the vendor has been willing to work with us over the past 5 years in the history that we have with the vendor, that they have accommodated those requests. So we're not contractually obligated to, they're not contractually obligated to do that, but they have been willing to work with us in the past.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so the menu is designed, again, in advance by a dietitian. There is supply chain, things that they have to work with, so they design the menu. Really, what I've seen, honestly, in the years that we've been managing this program is, individual tastes differ immensely. There's a wide spectrum. We have a few who hate certain things, a few who love certain things. It's across the gamut. We have to work with the vendor as best we can and work with the seniors. And yes, the director can provide feedback. I provided feedback to the vendor. They've been accommodated us in the past, but
No, I agree. I agree.
they provide meals to
Yeah.
others.
When you have 150 different taste buds, there's going to be an occasion where, but sometimes when you get 10 to 20 that, maybe 20 is an excessive amount of individuals that
Right. But
question the meal.
Right. So the meals are designed for our center and all their other clients as well. So the San Antonio Senior Centers, military bases, so there's only a certain amount of variety of choices for that day.
There's just a mechanism to bring it to their
There
attention.
is a mechanism to bring
Thank
it to their attention. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, council, is there a motion to approve resolution number 22R130?
So moved.
Second.
We have motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and second by Councilmember Brown. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to discussion items.
Excuse me, Mayor. I apologize on the consent agenda. I did not hear who made the motion and who seconded. Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, the motion was made by, Whitaker, and second by Councilmember Hayward. And on number 7, it was made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and second by Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move on to item number 12, ordinance number 22T49. Consideration or action approving an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an adjustment to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date. Mr. Walters, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Walters. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Schertz. Tonight we have before you the first quarterly budget adjustment we bring forward almost every year. This one particularly is taking any of the unused budgets from last fiscal year and rolling them forward to this year. Usually delays in supply chain, availability, contracts running long. We're not able to expense all the funds in the operating year that we thought we could. So we're taking the unused balance and moving it into this year. That way it's not affecting or decreasing our ability to provide services approved in this budget. The majority of the items that you see listed will be vehicles. We've had tons of trouble getting vehicles. There's also a couple of other big projects at Thulamar Park and Ashley Park. So let me run through a couple of items, and then if you have any questions over them, I can answer them. I can call up another department head to help answer. So PD, there's $81,000 for replacement of a K-9 vehicle. Parks, $27,000 for the Windy Swan Western repairs. $9,000 to finish purchasing the tables for Ashley Park. $133,000 to continue renovations at Thulamar Park. Just under $4,000 to upgrade the garden at the Senior Center. $88,000 to continue the Cibolo Valley Drive median landscaping. IT has $4,400 to continue the city's Wi-Fi and camera upgrades. Fire has $15,500 for community outreach and promotional material purchases. $283,000 for vehicle purchases and outfitting. $10,000 for promotional testing, as well as the cost increases related to that. And then $27,000 for delayed uniform purchases. Then we have some big project type items in the PEG fund, $479,000 to continue the master communication program, as well as $375,000 for the council chambers AV upgrade. And then the item you just approved at number 11 was the add-on for the municipal court. So that's part of this project as well. And as well as EMS is $262,000 for an ambulance remount and equipment that was also delayed. We also noticed about $10,000 being set for graffiti removal service that is in our code of ordinances. We don't believe our existing budget is adequate enough. We have some unused funds from last year in the abatement fund that we're going to roll forward as well. And we think this is a good starting amount. We'll judge how much interest we get in this service and then roll into the base budget for next year. All the items will leave us as general fund and other funds over our 26% fund balance requirement as stated in our ordinances as well. So.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. So, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Dalla.
Just one question for you. The money that we're rolling forward, is the allocations is what we originally allocated it for. It wasn't any change in use in the funds, right?
Correct. These are all for the same uses.
Councilmember Davis?
Yeah, for item number 9 for the fire department vehicle purchase, it says vehicle purchase, but if my hearing's not gone too bad, I thought you said vehicles. So what exactly vehicle for the fire department or vehicles for the fire department are we talking about, Chief? I know it's not an engine, not at $280,000. It's not an aerial.
It was a brush truck.
Okay.
Ordered in, as you know, cabs and things to get a hold of it very typical.
This is the replacement brush truck?
So it's still in process, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Council, any other comments? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 22T49?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Davis and second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Next, we have 3 public hearings. Our first public hearing is ordinance number 22S45. Conduct a public hearing and consideration or action on a request to rezone approximately 0.14 acres of land from single-family residential district R2 to Main Street Mixed-Use District, located southeast of the intersection of Randolph Avenue and Exchange Avenue, also known as 204 Randolph Avenue, also known as Guadalupe County Property Identification Number 67555, Guadalupe County, Texas. Mr. James, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first case, as you said, is a relatively small property that we're looking to rezone at the corner of Randolph and Exchange. You can see the property right here. It's across Randolph from Hidden Grove. The property right here is the counseling center, and then the Hidden Grove bar is right here. So the property owner, as the caption notes, is wanting to read, this is the property owner or the public hearing notification map. Again, you have the future land use plan and the graphic showing the current zoning, which is R2 single-family residential, and the proposed zoning was Main Street Mixed-Use District. It was previously a house. It's been vacant for some time. One of the things that's a little unusual here is the property is technically 2 separate lots. It doesn't front all the way back, and that was a factor when staff looked at it, but in light of the zoning just to the west of it, and being on Randolph at the corner street, we felt was appropriate with it, with that going forward. So staff does recommend approval with that. Again, we feel like it's consistent with the change. Obviously, with some of the lots that front on both Main Street and Exchange, the goal is not to extend those kind of uses into the neighborhood, but given that we have so many that do back to Main Exchange, and that in fact this one sort of fronts, if you will, onto Randolph, we felt it was appropriate. So with that, staff recommends approval. It went to the Planning and Zoning Commission in November, and they recommended approval of it as well.
Thank you, Mr. James. All right, again, this item is on the agenda as an open public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the council regarding this subject? Going once, going twice. Public hearing is closed. Okay, council, floor is open for discussion. No discussion. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 22S45?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Davis. Any other comments? Yes, Councilmember Whitaker.
Sorry, we moved right into the, thought I was going to have a minute to think there.
Apologies.
Do you have it was probably on the depiction there, but as far as what percentage of the properties along Main Street that are already designated Main Street mixed use go all the way through? Do you know?
I do not know which percentage of the properties Main Street mixed. So ask your question again, I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to get an idea. So it makes sense, but I also realize that as soon as we say this to the first one,
right.
Okay, yeah, sure, you're close enough. We'll bring you into Main Street mixed use. Now the next one, and so I know we're trying to create more of a district feel. I just want to make sure that we're also protecting the residents who then, are on the next street over, so that there was a little bit of a buffer there with properties that didn't go all the way through. So we're taking away a little bit of that buffer with this one. But like I said, I do know that several of the lots go the whole way through, so they're automatically all, so along, what is that, Exchange behind there?
Yes, ma'am.
Several of them are already in that zone, so I was just trying to.
I can pull up a map here real quick, and again, I think that's a valid sort of point. So again, what I would say is the bulk of the lots that are on Main Street extend all the way to Exchange. Not nearly all, and there's certainly more than just this one that don't. But let me kind of zoom in to give you a bit of a feel for it. I think that's a valid question. And so, again, you can see Main Street is here, Exchange is back here, and so you can see the lots that go all the way back, whether they're zoned residential, whether they're zoned Main Street mixed use, whether they're zoned commercial. And so there are really just, this is the one in question, there are a couple over here, a couple down here. So the bulk of them do go all the way back. I think one of the things that was a factor for staff, and I'll take the zoning exhibit off, I think this is helpful, is in part we looked at what the use was adjacent and where we have some adjacency and how that plays. So again, we've got a residential home here. There's sort of an outbuilding, kind of a garage, if you will, back here. So it's not as though we have a single family home right behind it that fronts. That would probably cause staff more pause if that were the case. So by way of an example, if it were maybe one of these two and it's got the house next door, that's probably something we would look more carefully at so that we didn't impact that next door to it with going all the way back. But that was part of the factor. So the bulk of them go all the way back through to Exchange. And as you could see with the zoning layer, many of those Main Street mixed use go all the way back through to Exchange.
Same as this map?
Yes, that map should be the same as that map, which is the grant area map.
Okay.
So everyone can see what Councilman Davis was showing folks. So he pulled up the map for the Main Street grant area, and when we created it, we essentially created it based on those properties that go all the way back were eligible. So again, it provides a good view of that. So again, this kind of gives you a feel of the ones that don't go all the way back, a small portion.
So based on that, so technically with that map, those little couple of properties that are on Exchange don't qualify for the grant.
They don't.
But they could be in Main Street mixed-use zoning.
They could be in the Main Street mixed-use zoning, and with council's action recently to extend the historic grant program to designated structures, it could be that you have a structure that's eligible for the historic grant program. But I think much like that change was made, at some point when we catch a breather, it probably makes sense to sort of talk to the Main Street Committee, come back through and say, all right, if we're having this happen, does the incentive program help, or things like that, to extend that to the properties to full depth. And it may not make sense with all of the properties, but some of them, for example, it might make sense to do that.
I think that's where, maybe that's where my brain was going, and I didn't figure it out until just now. But just that uniformity, if we're, working on Main Street, but most of Exchange is covered, and I'm not looking to like expand beyond that, but it just seemed like we've got these onesie, twosies, whatever, and so just trying to figure out what's the most consistent application. So maybe that is something to look at, for the reason that if those properties ever want to take advantage of the Main Street grant program, and like 95% of the other properties next to them, just because they were connected to the front side on Main Street, are able to, it just seems like maybe they should kind of fall into that category as well. But for the zoning, I think my questions are answered.
Okay, good point. We can probably bring this up at the next Main Street Committee. I think you're right. We tended to approach this fairly conservatively, and again, we just get busy and haven't necessarily always come back and said, hey, it probably makes sense to take stock, but we can do that.
I have no more questions, Mayor.
Council, any other comments? We have a motion that was made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Davis. Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We'll move on to item number 14, also a public hearing, ordinance number 22S42. Consideration or action on the request to rezone approximately 31 acres of land from general business district to single-family residential district. The property is a portion of parcel ID 63998, located approximately 1,000 feet to the northwest of Eckerd Road and Green Valley Road intersection, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. Mr. James?
Thank you, Mayor. So just to, again, you read the caption, sometimes it's hard to figure out where properties are. So the property here is on Eckerd Road, just to the north of Green Valley here. A little bit about up here is IH-35. So again, for those of you familiar with the area, this is the Cypress Point development. This is the Parklands development right in here. And so it's directly adjacent to the Cypress Point project. Is where the property is located. And again, just to give you a feel, this is the property ownership public hearing notice map. And again, one thing I will say with this is that we mailed a number of public hearing notices out on this. We did in fact get enough, the notices that came back had enough of the property within the notice area to trigger a supermajority. And it's kind of a confusing provision, but as you recall, if the owners of 20% or more of the property in that 200-foot notice area submit a protest, it triggers the supermajority. So if the owners of 20% or more of the property generally within that red notice area object, it triggers the supermajority. Again, in some cases, you can kind of have one property owner, maybe with one more can trigger that, and that's what happened here. And so it does take the 3/4 majority for this to be approved. The property owner is proposing to rezone the property from GB, general business, to R2, single-family residential. Just as a reminder for some folks, our old comprehensive land use plan and some of the zoning up in this area along 35 had industrial, had commercial on the south side of IH-35, and this zoning is really a holdover from that. And you can see the GB that kind of moves through this whole area, and yet you can obviously see the lotting pattern for the single-family residential homes. And so when this property came in, it made sense from a staff perspective to rezone this to be more consistent. It excludes, obviously, the hard corner. We have some concern about that balance between residential, commercial, and where you would typically get commercial located. But for us, this change made sense as a result of that. This is, again, the future land use plan map that we've come in with, which has a designation now of single-family residential, so it's consistent with that. And again, this is the zoning exhibit that the applicant is coming forward with. Just as a reminder, the R2 district requires 8,400 square feet, so it's one of our larger lot sizes, bigger than we would typically do. And they're just requesting that straight zoning with it, so it's got a minimum lot width of 70 feet, minimum depth of 120 feet, and then the standard setbacks with it. The item went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended 6-0 in favor of approval. We did have some folks that stood up to oppose it. Again, I don't want to speak for them. You can certainly watch or may have watched the P&Z meeting and have seen that. I would sort of characterize it as, at times what we get from undeveloped property owners is a concern that property is starting to develop. It's not sort of the country anymore, and that may be part of it. And then at times what we get are single-family home residents, maybe in Cypress Point, sort of not understanding the process, what could happen if the zoning didn't change. Here's what they could build on it with the GB district. Or again, we often hear that, I was told by somebody this would never develop and I would get to look out and see the cows kind of a thing. Because normally you would look at this and say, yeah, I think everybody would sort of be in favor of it. So again, not to speak for them, not to say they're wrong, but with that, staff thinks this makes a lot of sense. It's a fairly good lot size, so we think that's a good balance of lot mix in our community. It's a fairly small tract at 31 acres, so staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. James. All right, once again, this is a public hearing on this subject. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the City Council in reference to this subject? Going once. Yes, sir. Mike's all yours.
Good evening. My name is Bert Wellman. I'm with KFW Engineers. My address is 162 West Mill Street, New Braunfels, Texas. Actually representing the applicant, and so Mr. James did a great job.
Excuse me for a minute, sir. Excuse me. On the public hearing, I do limit it to 3 minutes. I'll give the developer more time to speak. So let's go ahead and just find out. Is there anybody else that wants to address the public hearing? Going once? Going twice? Public hearing is closed. Okay, sir. Now it's yours.
Okay.
You're not limited to 3 minutes now.
Apologize for that.
No, that's fine.
So Mr. James did a great job of kind of laying that out, but I would say the only thing that I would add is that we feel like this zoning does provide a good mixture of lot sizes in this particular area with Cypress Point subdivision to the north of us, and then Parkland's subdivision to kind of the northeast. Those lots that are currently being developed in there are a little bit smaller, and so with this subdivision, the 70-foot lot, it could be a good diversity of lot sizes out there. And then we also feel that this does provide the opportunity to provide some benefit to the city with some improvements to Eckert Road, ultimately with development. And we're also planning to extend like a 12-inch water main through the site. So just wanted to share that from an engineering standpoint, and also let you know that I'm available for questions if there are any.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Davis.
This is currently zoned general business. Is there I'm looking at it on the maps. Is there currently a business operating there?
No.
Councilmember Dalla?
Right, I would pretty much concur with what Brian was talking about, that, the GB zoning is archaic. It's from a long time ago, and that, in that area, GB zoning is probably not really viable for the types of uses that would go in there because it doesn't have a lot of traffic around there. We talk about variability and lot sizes. It's always been a big discussion. Having the larger lot sizes is definitely a benefit. I would imagine that the price point on those homes in there is probably going to start in the 500s and go up from there. With that lot size, it's probably about right. And I saw the comments, I saw the video. I definitely appreciate the comments from the surrounding property owners. And again, I would agree with your comments that they probably didn't have a full understanding of what could come versus what there is being proposed. And I feel that this would be a totally appropriate use for this piece of property.
Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, I pretty much have to concur with Councilmember Dalla. You know, I was really surprised when they came forward with R2. I'm thinking, that doesn't happen too often. And it's certainly welcome from me. I'm looking at Google Maps here, and I see a bit of a water spot right in the middle of the place, though. So it led me to question, hey, what kind of amenities are there going to be available in a subdivision like this? There's a lot of topography to work around, and I noticed over in the Homestead subdivision, there's a lot of drainage areas available. So I'm thinking it might be interesting to take a look in the future of, there are definitely some opportunities there to, and some challenges to work around, but I think it's totally appropriate for an R2 subdivision.
Council, any other comments?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 22S42.
44.
Oh, I'm sorry, 44.
Second.
And the second was Councilmember Brown?
Scagliola.
Scagliola? Okay. Second was Councilman Scagliola. I just want to say a comment before we take the vote, because it does require a supermajority. A 4-2 vote is a disapproval. Is it 42?
Yep.
I vote 44. Okay.
22S42.
42. Okay. No other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 6 ayes, no objections. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to roll call confirmation for consent agenda items.
We got one more, Mayor.
Oh, I do have one more. That's why I called 44. Yeah.
Got some more time to talk up here.
Phew. I turned the page too quickly. All right, item number 615, ordinance number 22S44. Conduct a public hearing, consideration or action on a request to rezone approximately 75 acres of land from general business, GB, and manufacturing district light, M1, to planned development district located southeast of the intersection of IH-35 and Cibolo Valley Drive, also known as Guadalupe County property identification numbers 68313, 68314, and 148510, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. Mr. James.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, as much as the description is supposed to inform people where it is, it can often confuse. So the property, as noted, is up at the southeast corner of IH-35 Frontage Road and Cibolo Valley Drive. Old Wiederstein is through here. So it's this portion of property and this portion of property here that sort of comes and wraps around. So this is Evo right here, and then this is the property that the school district SCUC ISD owns, and they have sort of a strip or a flag coming off their property to give them a little bit of frontage on Cibolo Valley Drive. So obviously that's not included in this. I'll show you again. Here is the public hearing notice map that comes through with that. Here's the current zoning, and as you said, it was a mix of industrial and commercial right now. Again, as we talked about, the old zoning industrial, and at times in some cases, commercial is outdated, it's antiquated as it may be. And so they're coming in to redevelop it. You can see the future land use plan map in this case, and again, part of that change was to go residential, single-family residential, and then the highway commercial and commercial campus in this location. I will say at this point that, you know, the designation is single-family residential. When you read the comprehensive plan, that single-family residential isn't solely single-family detached houses. That's the primary land use, but when you read it, it talks about the need for a mix of other type uses. So where yet appropriate, you might have some low-intensity retail, you might have some multifamily townhomes, things like that. And so typically, you know, as we talked about the last case, where you have those hard corners, even with that single-family residential, you would have some low-intensity commercial uses that provide support. And then certainly, obviously, being on IH-35 is a factor as well. So the property owner, this is the zoning exhibit, and I'll move to the next slide, but what they're effectively coming in is a planned development district where they want to create 4 different areas, and I'll touch on these in a minute. One area is sort of what you'd call the frontage and a little bit wrapping around on Cibolo Valley Drive for commercial, the type of stuff you would typically see. Restaurant, service, retail, things like that. They've got this middle parcel that initially, when it went to planning and zoning, they said, we're not sure quite what makes sense for this. They wanted the ability to do multifamily or commercial. Subsequent to P&Z, they came back and said, nope, we're willing to exclude the multifamily and we'll go commercial with it going forward. So that's what you have before you. We don't feel that that change would have impacted the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation. Certainly not to speak for them, but I don't think that was something they had a concern about. Most of it centered around how much multifamily is too much, and so I think this is probably consistent. They've got a portion of the property that they want to do multifamily on through this area. That's not inconsistent with what you see in Cibolo Crossing across the way in Cibolo. The front's that commercial, back behind Rips Chrysler is multifamily. So again, often it's a mix of those uses that's beneficial. And then again, you've got commercial, this little piece down here to provide service uses. So I'll touch on a little bit of what they've done. So Area 1, it's 18.6 acres. It's that frontage on IH-35 and kind of wrapping Cibolo Valley Drive. Really what they want to do are all the uses in GB, general business. Now they have put a couple of uses in that are not typically allowed in the GB, maybe GB2. One of those is auto repairs and service major, and then retail cabinet sales. Retail cabinet sales is a little bit of an odd one. It could be that they have a store that does you know, kind of home refurnishing or home remodeling, and they do kind of cabinet displays and things like that. Because it was called out specifically, they wanted to add it going forward. So not really a concern about that because it is a retail operation as opposed to a wholesale cabinetry. The other with regard to the auto repair and service major, you know, initially I think the reaction is, well, that seems kind of an odd mix there. One of the things to remember with our UDC is there are 2 categories of auto repair and service, really. There's the minor and the major. The minor, I would describe, if you read it closely, it's really that oil change place that you go in, you get the oil changed, maybe they do state inspections, and when they do your state inspection like me, they often find my wipers are not sufficient, and they can help me out right there and sell me a pair of wipers and put them on for me so that I don't have to drive to the auto parts store, buy them, put them on myself, and then come back, and usually I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, looks pretty clear to me, but sure, whatever. But my point is they do a few other minor things. There's not a middle ground between that. There's not the kind of mid-range that does repair. You kind of move into the repair. Now, again, this is not an auto body shop, but often we have those businesses say, I'm concerned about the minor is too restrictive given the services that they may perform beyond wiper blades and oil filters and things like that. But I think there certainly were a fair amount of discussion of, I don't think that what we're looking for as a community with this prime piece of land and highly visible in our community is a lot of auto replaces here, but certainly we can point to auto repair places in the community that are very nice and certainly could see perhaps one. Again, it's their request. The Planning and Zoning Commission was comfortable with it kind of going forward, but I think, you know, we've had a lot of conversations about the tone for this property. I think it's part about some trust and some flexibility and things like that. So That's really the difference there. Now, they have gone through, and with all the categories, they've done some things with reducing some of the setbacks, increasing some of the impervious cover. And I will say this, so regardless of the changes in the impervious, whatever that is, they have to design for that in terms of detention and runoff with that. And so if they were to go from 80% to 85%, then their engineering design would have to assume that higher impervious cover, and the detention would have to account for that. So it's really only an aesthetic, if you will. But I think speaking to the applicant, their vision is, hey, you've got this big piece of land that's sort of highly visible there. We're trying to do commercial, we're trying to do residential, we're trying to have development compatible. And so if you're going to have that area that's a bit more dense, and you try to put a bit more into it that sort of fits, and we've certainly seen areas like that, this seems like the area to do that, and part of doing that well means having the appropriate standards. And so they've kind of done that throughout, and you can read that for yourself. As I said, Area 2, since P&Z, they eliminated the R4, the multifamily designation, and so it's just GB. Now, they have added the commercial amusement outdoor proposed with that. So again, if you were to do something like a Topgolf, like a batting cages, those of you sort of old school San Antonio area remember Malibu golfing games, that would be the sort of thing that would be needed for that to make that happen. You remember Evo tried the paintball, and they went a different route to get there, but that would be allowed. And so again, if we're looking for this to be sort of that retail entertainment kind of hub, that would sort of make sense with that. Obviously, they would have to comply with the lighting standard, kind of going forward and things like that. That Area 3 is R4, which is multifamily. Again, they've modified some of the lot coverage. They have reduced the maximum density to about half of what it would typically be, from about 24 down to 12. So I think the plan is to do a different kind of multifamily, but we've had this conversation with cases before. If you have one lot and it's multiple living units on it or more than two, it technically falls into the multifamily category, even though you may go out there and say, well, this looks like townhomes, or this looks like little single-family cottages. Technically, it's the way the lot is that causes it to fall into multifamily. But to be clear, they've kind of gone with this. They've not included the layout, but they'll certainly talk you through what their plan is going forward. And then that area right up at the corner of kind of Old Weederstein and Cibolo Valley Drive, 3.2 acres. Again, general business is what they've come in with. The GB has a really high maximum height, 120 feet, and because it's near the residence, they've dropped the height down to 30 feet, and those are probably some lower intensity kind of things coming through there going forward. So again, you can see the conceptual plan. This is Area 1, so this is that GB area with the cabinetry sales and the auto repair. This is that Area 2 with GB and the outdoor commercial amusement. This is the R4 multifamily, and then this is that Area 4, which is the GB with the reduced height, that you typically get on a corner with that. So again, it's a PD, Plan Development District. They've tried to kind of figure out what they have to do the whole way through. So as I said, they modified some of the regulations to make clear they understand how it will develop. And so they've done a couple of things differently. One is they've come in and they've reduced the parking space size 9 by 18. Again, I think the idea is if we're trying to get that intensity of commercial and retail, when you go 10 by 20, that's about a 25% increase over the 9 by 18 in terms of parking space size. So it lets them deal with that a little better, have a bit more actual develop area as opposed to the seas of parking and things like that. So staff has reviewed it, staff is comfortable with it, staff is recommending approval of it. We think it fits with the existing land uses in the area. It went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 in favor of approval of it. We did have some residents come and speak at the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you recall, in Cibolo, just to the south, and then just over to the east, there's some single-family neighborhoods. Again, we feel this is compatible with those. If you look at Cibolo Crossing, the multifamily next door to those single-family residential makes sense. And then again, to go back, you know, SCUC ISD owns this piece of property. The talk has been, and it could change, they could sell it, they could do something different, was for this to be the third high school site. So again, fairly intensive. We think this makes sense and fits with that kind of going forward. So with that, staff recommends approval as conditioned in the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. James. Okay, once again, this is an open public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the City Council in reference to this subject?
Hold mine down, let me put this back up.
Hi, I'm Dana Eldridge, 2628 Gallant Fox Drive, Schertz, Texas. In case you forgot, you know, I haven't been up here for a while. I'm glad to see that something is being done with this area out there. It's been a shame that Evo has been left sitting there by itself for such a long time. I'm not sure that I'm up front with the major auto repair right there on the main drag. That the Wiederstein Road, hopefully with this development, will get fixed, okay? Because it needs to be fixed, that corner of Cibolo Trail and Old Wiederstein. The power lines are a little bit of a concern. So I'd like to see more. I'd like to see something along a nice eatery in there rather than an auto repair major, because we've got one on the other side of 35 and we've got one on 1103. So we've got them real close there. I don't know, guys. This is, that needs to be developed. I've been out there for 16 and a half years. The only thing that's been developed on there has been the Evo next to the buses. But something's got to be done. I'm just not sure that we're picking some of the right stuff to be in that blue area.
Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to address the City Council? Going once, going twice. Public hearing is closed. All right, we have a developer here, right? Would the developer like to?
Hi, good evening. I'm Ashley Fairman, 10101 Reunion Place. Nice to see you all. Brian gave a very thorough presentation, so thank you, Brian. I won't share too much. I'll turn it over to the developers to talk a little bit more about the project. Here tonight is Jeremy Williams with Embry and Will Collins with Merritt, who will speak about the residential portion of the project as well as the commercial. And just to say, you know, it's our first presentation to you all on this rezoning. It's our first step, really, in the entitlement process and first public hearing other than P&Z. But we have been working on this site for over a year now, you know, doing the due diligence, trying to come up with a plan that we think best fits in the city and is of a quality plan that you all will be pleased with and proud of. So we hope to be back and make more presentations to you in the future. But today we'll just talk about the zoning piece. Skip over that one. As Brian mentioned, it's about 75 acres. A good portion of the site is already zoned general business, but we are including it all in the PDD to allow for a much more comprehensive, cohesive project. That way we can work, you know, with Area 1, Area 2, Area 3 to where it comes together as one big project. And also it gets rid of, obviously, the manufactured zoning. Another piece is the Rips Chrysler extension that will run through the property. That's part of the major thoroughfare plan. And the PDD, what that allows us to do is take that road and work with Brian and the city on exactly where it's located. So we do have some flexibility in the location of that road and how the uses work around it. And finally, there is a very large transmission line easement that runs directly through the site. that I know Jeremy will speak of when he makes the presentation on the residential, but you can see it, and that is a hindrance to the development and is a bit difficult, but we've been able to work through it. Brian showed you the PDD. Since we did go to P&Z, I do want to point out that we had heard some feedback that maybe multifamily in Area 2 was too much multifamily, and so went back and looked at the feasibility of adding much more commercial to the site, and have determined that yes, we can take the multifamily piece out, and Will Collins with Merit will speak about that a little bit more. The vision for that Area 2, although it's still unknown at this point, but we are removing the ability to have apartments or any sort of residential in that piece. Just an aerial view. And then here's just a very rough conceptual layout. Again, the piece in the middle is that Area 2 that we're not exactly sure what will go there, but some form of commercial. And then fronting on 35, you can see retail commercial there, and then obviously the residential development to the rear of that. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Jeremy Williams. If there are any questions specific to the PDD and the draft and the variances that come along with it, as well as the restrictions that we're putting on the project, we're happy to answer those, and I'm happy to get in. I know it's a bit thorough of a document, so happy to talk about all of that. So.
Thank you, Ashley. Good evening, Council, Mayor, Mr. Williams. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Jeremy Williams with Embry Development. We're the master developer on the project. And I want to talk with you about, I'm going to go back a couple of slides. We're calling it Area 3, the red portion of the tract, 33.5 acres of to be zoned as multifamily. What we'll be building on I guess first of all, a little bit of history about Embry. We're a almost 50-year-old company with 50,000 units that we've developed. 6 states and 12 different major markets in Texas. And a few years ago, we really focused on single-family rental style of living, which is a blend of single-family living with the Class A amenities and luxuries of an apartment complex. The density is somewhere between 10 and 12 units to the acre, so low density, but you still get all of the Class A amenities that come with an apartment complex. And so this is not, while it is new to us, we are building it under construction today in green. That was our first project to start. We will see the clubhouse and first units delivered this summer. And we have a second community in North Fort Worth that's under construction today. And we plan to build 4 or 5 of these a year in the Texas markets because this is a diversity of housing type that's really needed today, that's not really widely available. And so the site is situated, it's an L-shaped flag lot that's between Evo and the school. We have a main entrance would be off of the Rips Chrysler extension with the clubhouse. You can see kind of on the top left side of the page. There would be the clubhouse, 5,000 square foot club, 1,000 square foot amenity, fitness center. We have an outdoor fitness area. We've got resort style pool. And we have a lot of green space. These communities, typical apartments are anywhere from 20 to 30% green space, depending upon the density. We're able to achieve 30, sometimes 35 or more % of green space in these types of projects. And when you have overhead transmission lines, areas that you can't put buildings, you get a lot more green space. So this project will be able to preserve a lot of the open area. So the community does extend down further south on the page there. It has 2 separate entrances beyond Rips Chrysler off of Cibolo Valley. And so we'll have dog parks and other areas that we can amenitize as well. So at less than 12 units to the acre, single family, again, blends that type of living that people are looking for. You have private yards. And this style that we'll be going for is a new American farmhouse style. Essentially, how you would interpret that is it's a clean color palette with pops of color. We have large front porches to allow people to sit on the front porch, put furniture out there on the front porch. As you can see, there's attached garages. There's also detached garages. We made it a point to be able to park an F-150 in these garages. A lot of people build small garages for apartments. I don't know why, but usually people store stuff in the garages and they don't put cars. So with oversized garages, people can utilize those as garage space. We limit the amount of cars that are in the parking spaces, but we have carports as well. We also have driveways to a lot of these units when you have the master on the ground level. So 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, average square foot of about 1,000 square feet. And what is nice about this, go back one, is they look like small homes. They're really 2,000 kind of square foot homes in their massing, but it's 2 1,000 square foot units that are back to back, duplex style. You don't have any bedrooms that share the party wall. It's quiet. You don't have anybody living above you. And you have people that face the street, and you have people that face the green belt that share a common area that can be amenitized. And so we've gone through the parking analysis to make sure that people can park close to their units for people that live on the, call it the back side, the green space side of the unit. So you're not walking 100 yards to get to your front door. What's also nice is you don't have to pass 30 front doors to get to your door. You don't have the corridor that you have in a lot of apartment communities. So we've got a rendering of the clubhouse. And the pool area showing the amenitized pool. And some units will front right onto that pool area. Others will back up to the future school ISD site. And some will face the green belt. So we have a variety of options for people of whatever style that they're looking for. So if there's any other questions, I'll turn this over to Will, allow him to speak to the commercial aspect of it. Happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Will Collins. I'm the CEO of Merit Commercial Real Estate. We are based in San Antonio. I've been developing shopping centers since 2003, and we've developed over 1 million square feet of shopping centers. We're really proud to be a part of Schertz Station. This is a great piece of property. Y'all should be proud of the city and amenities y'all have created here, because we've already received a lot of attention from restaurants, entertainment, and shopping retailers that we're in active negotiations with. And I think it's a true reflection of the quality of the site and also the quality of the development team. Embry's a first-class developer that's nationally recognized, and we're proud to be a partner with them on this project. So, as Ashley mentioned, we've spent a little over a year working on this project. We wanted to be thoughtful in our approach to planning and designing it. It will be a true mixed-use project, which is a buzzword that you hear a lot over the last decade about development, and you know, people want to live, work, play in the same area, and this will be one of those projects. It's got seamless connectivity from the shopping, the dining, entertainment, and residential uses, which is pretty rare in our area. As I said, we've had a lot of activity, a lot of interest, and we're in active negotiations with several restaurants, in particular on the hard corner. We're talking to 2 restaurants, or in negotiations with 2 restaurants to occupy a 2-tenant building. In the building adjacent to the hard corner, it'll be another 2-tenant restaurant building next to, and that's encompasses about 15,000 square feet. The lot across from that first entrance along the I-35 frontage road will be a 12,000 square foot multi-tenant retail building. And we're in active negotiations with 3 different tenants. One is a service user, and one is a dental clinic, and the other is another restaurant. We are going to develop a 10,000 square foot multi-tenant retail building adjacent to that, and are currently in active negotiations with 2 other users, one of which is a urgent care clinic, and then recently have received an LOI from another medical user for this first building that fronts Cibolo Valley Drive, just to the east of the hard corner. So we're well on our way to putting this project together, and we're also in active negotiations with an anchor tenant to occupy Area 2, that centerpiece that was highlighted in yellow on the site plan. So the total investment in the retail portion will be more than $60 million, including enhanced architectural features, enhanced landscaping, lighting, and signage. And all of this together will really create a first-class destination that will give us a competitive advantage over our neighboring developments. If you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you for your time. Appreciate the spirit of cooperation that the city has shown us. It's been a very pleasant experience.
Thank you for that presentation. Council, floor is open for discussion. No questions, that's good.
I mentioned this before offline. I think the concept is fantastic overall. I think it's definitely going to fill a need for our community as we grow into that northern sector. I do have, and this is a trivial little thing, I do have concern about the proposed name, only because of the historical aspect of Schertz. For the longest time, we had been part of a plan to look at the possibility or feasibility of a light rail system ultimately coming from Austin down through San Antonio. And I think the name Schertz Station, if that were to ever come about, would be confusing, only because any station in Schertz would be on the other side of the highway where the railroad tracks are at. But that's a small thing, and if the best marketing deal is Schertz Station and that's the vision, well, then that's the vision. More importantly, I do have concern about the automotive request. Because that is so vague, I don't think that this is the area where ultimately we'd like to see an auto body repair shop. You mentioned the high-end landscaping and lighting and all that kind of stuff, but in my travels around the San Antonio area, whenever we see a automotive repair place, it has vehicles awaiting repair, which means it's fenced off and it's got that perception, that vision that just doesn't go with the urgent care and the restaurants and the rest of the stuff, the entertainment district that we're talking about with the center part. So, I mean, I think it's a great concept. I think it's something we sorely need, but I do have concerns about primarily the auto repair carve out.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward?
I have to agree with Councilmember Davis. And I live up in that area, and auto repair just doesn't, as I'm thinking about this whole concept, seeing an auto repair major just doesn't seem to fit with restaurants and healthcare. And I'm like, I think that takes away from what we're trying, in my opinion, because we're trying to make this premier corner to be the thing that everyone wants to go to in Schertz, and I'm just not seeing it as far as the auto repair major. And the name, yeah, I think we could get a little creative with that, but again, that's just a minor thing. I like the concept, I like the idea of it, and I know that a lot of places are looking, or people are looking for places to just feel like it's a home, but it's just a rental because they like to work hard, play hard, and not take care of yard space and that kind of thing. So I do like the concept.
Okay, before we ask another question, when is the drop date time for the change of the name, the station? Because I know those are options that you made available. Could you give us a date when that needs to be determined?
We are open. We don't have a drop dead date.
Okay.
So we certainly could workshop with the city and discuss different names. We use that as a placeholder. It was, so we're certainly open to coming up and brainstorming with some new concepts.
Okay, thank you. Now, the other question, I'm sorry.
It's a great name, but I think it'd be a great name if you were building this development on the other side of the highway, because I'm still a dreamer. I still think at some point the light bulb will come on and folks will realize that a light rail servicing Austin through San Antonio really wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
And again, unfortunately, you know, you've got problems to deal with power lines. You don't have the problems of the railroad tracks. I wish you did, because then everything would fall in place. It'd be perfect.
Yeah. Now, the other question they had on auto major, I look at it different. I don't think that you're considering auto repair. I'm looking like a muffler shop where it's not a minor thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's even less.
It's even less than
that. So when in our interpretation, our read, when we go through zoning, we're looking at the strictest interpretation of that zoning and how it could be applied to potential uses. So really what we're thinking about is discount tire, right? I mean, would this preclude, would not having auto major or just auto minor, would that allow for the full use of services that a discount tire provides? And the answer was no. So we requested that auto major. That's the only reason. I don't, you know, we're so far along here, we're probably not even going to do a discount tire, but we'd like to reserve that right. We do think they're a first-class operator. We do think they bring a lot of co-tenancy synergy to a project. But that's the reason for our request for the variance.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Councilmember Whitaker.
If you sit next to him, you can just like tap him and go for it. Well, that's what I was thinking was discount tire too. And we've got one, you know, at the Forum. I don't think it detracts from that area. Of course, it sits like right next to Home Depot kind of thing. But I think it's doable, but it obviously depends on what goes in there, you know. But if that's the intention, I was comfortable with that concept. And then, well, maybe why am I having a conversation? It could be a different company that does something similar. As for the Schertz station, I like it, and I think it could work if they put the train on the other side, and they're getting off at Schertz station to go to Schertz station across the street. I mean, what? So stick with the Schertz station. I'm very excited about the housing option that's going in there. I think that is something that is just different, and the parking would be great. Is it 2-car garages, 1-car garage, a variety of garage?
Variety, 1- and 2-car garages.
Okay.
Yep, attached to the homes, and some are detached so that people that live on the backside could also have a garage.
Okay. So do you have, I forget, you're the housing and you're the developer. Is there a community in the area that you've also developed that we would be familiar with? Or do you have a vision for something here? For example, I mean, you've got the Quarry, you've got Huebner Oaks. Those are all shopping, commercial with housing around. For a vision, is it anything like those areas?
Sure. No, I think, like I said, I think this is unique in that this has been master planned from the beginning to be a cohesive project. Even Huebner Oaks, there's that separation between, in my opinion, between the retail and the multifamily that was developed adjacent to it. We're developing a master plan community in Castroville currently. That, I would say, there's even I think this is better planned than that, and we've been working on that one for a while as well. So I don't know, I'm sorry, I think this is very similar to the project across the street, Cibolo Crossing.
Yeah.
I think that was a good reference point for whoever said that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Councilmember Dalla.
So, yeah, I watched the planning and zoning meeting on that and listened to what all the commissioners had to say, and, you know, I think I'm pretty much in alignment with everybody on it. You know, unlike Mr. Davis there, I'm a little bit more pragmatic. I think Lone Star Rail is dead forever. But we'll see on that. Probably not while we're capable of walking and getting on board the train. But having a different concept for the residential, I think is nice. It's not your traditional high-density apartment complex. It's something that is at least appearing to be a higher end. I did have some initial concerns about the automotive repair thing. You know, but hearing what the applicant is talking about on what their ideas were on that, as well as thinking about, you know, they're going to put in $60 million and they're not going to allow one tenant in there that's going to run off other tenants. And it's going to be managed pretty well. So I'm not terribly excited about that part, but I understand it. I'm okay with it.
So if I may, Councilman, given the comments earlier and just mention the applicant, what we can do, hearing the concerns, and as I said, the problem we have is we have the auto repair minor, which a close reading is really, really limited. And then we've got the auto repair major, which sort of goes to the other extreme, which again, they've indicated isn't the case. Maybe what we could do is see between this meeting and next, if that's the feeling, to better define the auto repair that would be allowed there. And I think one of the things that was noted was any vehicles awaiting repair overnight, provision for where they might be located, things like that. So if you'd like, what we could certainly do is try to work on having a better definition that's more in keeping with what they'd likely do and maybe eliminate some of the worst fears of council, if that would help.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the forum, there's like 4 or 5 tire shops up in the forum. Again, Discount Tire was kind of unique because there's one literally a half a mile down the road from this, but there's like 4 or 5 tire shops up in the forum, and you can drive up in the forum and shop, and you don't even really notice that they're there. They're part of just regular retail establishment. I just have that, and I agree with what Councilman Dalla said, that with the amount of money invested in here, I don't think the developer is going to do something insanely crazy that's going to detract from the overall project. But, you know, from this seat, you know, I look at my task is to look out for the interests of our community, and to have just a generic definition that, in fact, someone could come back later and say, well, you know, let's put in a collision repair place.
A wrecker service.
A wrecker service. They would all meet that need. And, you know, with some of the other problems that we've had within the community, I'm not sure that would be taken well. So, I mean, I'm okay with if we can come back with a clarification on it.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Council, any other comments? Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion. We approve ordinance 22S44.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Donald, second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 6 ayes, no objections, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. We're excited can't wait for you guys to start turning dirt. Thank you so much. All right, next we have roll call confirmation. Our city secretary, Ms. Edmondson, will give us a roll call confirmation on our consent items and our discussion items. Ms. Edmondson?
Thank you, Mayor. Consent agenda items 1 through 6 and 8 through 11. Councilmember Whitaker made the motion, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 7, Resolution 22R120, A motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and seconded by Councilmember Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Davis, and Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 12, it was the first reading of ordinance 22T49. A motion was made by Councilmember Davis, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 13, there was the first reading of ordinance 22S45, and a motion was made by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Davis. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 14, ordinance 22S42. It was the first reading. A supermajority was required to have this pass. A motion was made by Councilmember Dalla, seconded by Councilmember Scagliola. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 15 was the first reading of ordinance 22S44. A motion was made by Councilmember Dalla, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. All right, we'll move on to a workshop discussion and action regarding the acquisition of approximately 31 acres of property located on the north and south sides of Wiederstein Road, east of the Schertz Parkway. Mr. James, I believe this was yours? It's not.
He's coming up. I'll just kill some time here until he gets up here. Is this yours? I'm going to set this up for you.
You're good. You're
Don't say I never did anything for you. All right, good luck.
Thank you. Any questions, please defer to Mr. James. So thank you for having me, and Greg Rogers, Fire Chief. We have an opportunity to go through the process of purchasing some land for Fire Station number 4. We have a few slides to speak to it briefly for you. This is an example of where the location roughly would be. It's not really set in stone per se, but we're showing still the overall properties that would be purchased and where we would sit the fire station, again, roughly speaking. There's no commitment to the other pieces of property and what they would be per se in the future, but that would be up to the city and what they aspire to do. That piece right there is approximately, I want to say it's probably about 8 to 10 acres. The significance of that location, as you all know from previous experiences with Chief Long, we're having a very difficult time finding the right piece of property for that. One of the focuses from my perspective was we need to make sure that we're covering the industrial park. That's part of the reason for being in the same region, but after 5 o'clock, that area slows down greatly. So one of my hopes was to be on this side in order to service the residents during the nighttime. If a fire were to break out in the evening, that's our most dangerous life safety moments. Adding that piece of equipment over here without losing drive time coming this way was important for me. That doesn't hurt anything that we do during the day because all of that has an alarm system in it that is being monitored. We're still going to get the same amount of notification. When I speak to a couple of these things, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. But a small number of options, but this is a very good piece of property in that our response time gets down low enough across not just to cover the industrial park, but the whole region, and I'll speak to that here in just a few minutes. But we get the commercial, residential, and I-35 corridor that we have now, but we don't do a great job because of where Station 1 is and where Station 2 is. It takes a considerable amount of time. Most of the time, I'm just as guilty. I think, oh, it's Schertz Parkway and I-35. It's not very far, but actually it is. It's over 2.5 miles. And drive time through that with the school district and the lights slows us down a great amount. The other part is the second and third level responses are less than 6 minutes, or 6 minutes or less. That puts us in compliance with the National Fire Protection Association standards for not just the first one, but the second and third units. Then we focus on what we consider our full response force that needs to be there in 8 minutes or less. So a fire, even across the highway or in that entire region, is now met by approximately 18 personnel coming in less than 8 minutes, and that's really, really good, honestly. So what we've done from a national standard impact is when we did our ISO evaluation 2 years ago, what came back and we found out was we're in ISO 2. One of those things was to put a 100-foot platform within that drive time to the industrial park in order to meet the standard held to get an ISO 1. We will easily do that. There may be a few other things that need to come along because it'll take some time and we'll do a reevaluation, but our goal is to do those things as we're going along. So when the fire station is completed and we do get the platform in the space it's supposed to be, that we can immediately go for that ISO 1 evaluation. And development like these gentlemen are talking about will be easier as well. NFPA response to the national standard, again, back to the industrial park, I-35 Schertz Parkway in 3009. The importance here to me is we look at Station 2 and 35 and 3009, and really Google Maps says you can get there in about 3.5 minutes. But our data doesn't support that. And it's easy, and you guys drive this all the time, you know. And because of traffic, we can guess by a speed limit, but we're very, very seldom get that, and even more challenging times than others. Of course, Schertz Parkway and I-35 is even harder for us. With that fire station where we want to put it, those issues are pretty much put to bed. Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Council, questions? Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Well, I realize that the affordability is probably, much more affordable in that area, but at the same time, there really is no infrastructure there, and by putting the fire station kind of like in the middle, isn't it going to cost us a lot more to put infrastructure to get to it?
We've talked about that to a certain degree, but one of our concerns is we don't want to get too close to Schertz Parkway to interfere with any potential commercial aspect. The other is to be a good neighbor and to go too far towards the subdivision. Having dealt with that in the past, in my previous experience in College Station, we had to deal with Station 3, and it was really put in the middle of some subdivisions, and we really had to balance that out. We did our due diligence. We did go out and have community events and meet with the people, and they totally understood, but we made it important to be, and when I say good numbers, if you're across the street and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, we're not firing up every siren that we have on the fire truck when there's nobody on the road. That's part of our responsibility to you.
Like I said, I think the location looks good from all those functional items that you're talking about. I'm just thinking about the development aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, Mr. James and he's briefly mentioned that and some of the challenges, but he still felt comfortable in moving forward with that. Additionally, we did discuss that intersection would have to be interchanged to get out in a reasonable fashion.
And there's still a handful of privately owned lots in there. They weren't all.
Yes, sir. Let me. You want to do that? I don't have. Oh, yeah. Put me on. No, not from there, you don't. There you go. You can see that in those pieces of property, the ones that aren't within the blue by any means are already owned, but these through here are already owned by the city because that's where the power lines run through. So this side where we're at, the greatest majority all the way up to about Schertz Parkway. And if I remember, Brian, this is all commercial through here, already zoned correctly on this side, but the rest back here is individual lots.
So I don't know the zoning, so there are deed restrictions on the property that don't allow commercial on it. So again, you may remember Tony Eugenio from the south side tried to go to the legislature and get it changed. I think obviously one thing that staff, when we looked at it and said is, if that ever got changed and it allowed for commercial, then we could try to do some sort of public-private partnership with this stuff to try to get commercial development in here. You can see the medical office right here. As the chief said, this is really parceled out. It's not really good for anything. I think generally it's probably going to just be open space, a place for the deer to hang out, up along the trail, if you will. But certainly we have some flexibility and want to be clear, while this is what we think the plan and how the land uses might be, we may get into this and decide to make a shift for one reason or another based on some of the comments and feedback. The area in blue is what the school district owns, and then the city owns the properties that are under the power line easement, generally through here, but not all of them. We don't own all the properties that back up to here. We don't own these little pieces here. So yeah, there will be these leave-out parcels that, again, kind of makes this not really usable. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Brian, are we able to speak to the extension of utilities and the potential cost of that?
Yeah, not terribly. So obviously what we would need to do is so we have a couple things here. One we have is that, as you know, Wiederstein isn't improved from this point all the way down to Schertz Parkway. And so certainly with this purchase, we would own, call it 90% of the properties that front. So at some point, we would need to go in and fully improve Wiederstein from what it is today, which is just the paving with the bar ditches, to a full-blown city segment that goes from there. Now, when we do that, remains open for debate. It may not be likely when we do the fire station. As you know, we have Heritage Oaks coming in when that section is improved, if the signal goes in this location, so we'd have to come back at some point. We would just have to look at the water and sewer needs, how significant they are for the fire station, to see if we have to upsize anything or not going forward. The big cost on this is likely going to be the road, and that really comes to us, you know, when we purchase, we own sort of the frontage, but again, the bond money and the whatnot is not sufficient to improve Wiederstein with this. The assumption is we'll build and open the fire station with the road as is, then come at it at some point in the future. And Kathy, go ahead.
That's all good. Come on, Larry.
I knew Larry was back there, and he knows everything about where the utilities are, so the Wiederstein stretch from Schertz Parkway.
Yes, so there's water down Wiederstein. There's also sewer that comes out of the development, Forest Ridge, and then comes down and goes down one of the right-of-ways through the Carolina crossing. So there's water and sewer both in the roadway.
Thank you.
So water connection to, forget the plat, for medical complex, 5,000 Schertz Parkway up there.
Thank you. Councilmember Dalla, you had some questions?
I don't have any real questions on it. I mean, it seems like a logical way to go on it. You know, just one comment is, you know, before we would move forward on it, I would expect us to meet with the neighborhood surrounding it, just to let them know what we're planning and, you know, get some feedback from them.
Sure, absolutely. Again, that's, to me, that's part of our due diligence, to be good neighbors.
Just for clarity, you know, this fire station looks like it's in the middle of a neighborhood, but it's not, because Wiederstein Road is running through there. We actually have some frontage on Wiederstein Road.
Yes, sir.
Now, the blue sections that are on the opposite side of the fire station number 4, on either side, that is school property still, am I correct?
The blue.
The blue, all the blue is, yeah. So it's basically across the street that there's a lot of empty parcels that are individually owned.
That's right. So for example, these
All those.
parcels are individually owned, this is individually owned, this is individually owned, this is individually owned.
Right.
There's some of the parcels down in here that are individually owned, and then parcels up in here that are individually owned.
Yeah, so it's not really necessary in the middle of a subdivision because of the major road that is there.
Yeah, let me pull up the aerial photo. This may again help explain,
There's no
because you
house.
look at it and you think, yeah, that's a neighborhood, when in fact, it's a paper subdivision.
This is one of those places that everybody wants to see the deer stay.
Yes. So again, I'll take off the current zoning. So again, here's Schertz Parkway. This is Wiederstein. So again, we're buying the bulk of the property over here, few here, and we're buying a hodgepodge up and through here. You can sort of see the trail and get a feel for what the city might own, but we'll provide that map of city ownership as well. So you're right, it's not kind of in the middle, it's you got a road running through it, paper subdivision, there's not generally water and sewer running through here, not streets through there, although the right-of-way is dedicated.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, council, I think we have a thumbs up to go ahead and start working on this, so,
Thank you.
yeah. We didn't vote, we had a thumbs.
We appreciate it.
Go for it. Let's work this out.
Well, hopefully
Thank you.
the school
Thank you,
district's
Chief.
on the same page. Thank y'all.
Okay, we have several closed sessions. We have 3 closed sessions. Item number 17, the City Council will convene in closed session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Governmental Code to conduct a private consultation with its attorney about pending or contemplate litigation or settlement offer on one or more of the following matters. Green Valley Special Utility District versus the City of Schertz et al., case number 17-CV-00819-LY, U.S. District Court, Western District of Texas, Austin Division. Or the City of Schertz versus United States Department of Agriculture et al., case number 19-51056, U.S. 5th District Court of Appeals. Or the City of Texas versus the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality et al., case number 07-20-00167-CV, the 7th Court of Appeals, Amarillo, Texas. Or Green Valley Special Utility District versus the Public Utility Commission of Texas and Deanne T. Walker, Arthur C.D. Andrea, Jr., Shelley Balkin in their official capacity as commissioners of the Public Utility Commission of Texas, and John Paul Urban in his official capacity as Executive Director of the Public Utility Commission of Texas, and the City of Schertz, Texas, cost number D-1-GN-18-000-535 in the District Court of Travis County, Texas, the 419th Judicial District, application of the Green Valley Special Utility District for the new TPDESE permit number WQ0015917-001, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Item number 18. The City Council will meet in closed session under Section 551.074 of the Texas Governmental Code on personal matters to discuss the vacancy of the City Secretary position. And item number 19, the City Council will meet in closed session in accordance with Section 551.072, the Texas Governmental Code, deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or real property for parks and recreation purposes. The time is 8:07. We will reconvene after our discussion. All right, the time is now 9:08. We reconvene into a regular session after our discussion and deliberation regarding our closed session. Regarding agenda item number 17, reference Green Valley Special Utility District, start time was 8:15, end time was 8:40, no action required. We went on to do item number 19, reference land acquisition for Parks and Recreation. Start time was 8:41, end time was 8:49, no action required. Agenda item number 18, reference the city secretary vacancy. Start time was 8:49, end time was 8:57, no action required, no roll call confirmation required then. Agenda item number 20, an update, monthly update on the fiscal year 2022 and 2023, the approved expanded programs. And item number 21 is the monthly update on major projects in progress and capital improvement projects. These information packets were provided for council and available for public viewing at our website, Schertz.com. So we'll move on to any further announcements from our city manager, Mr. Williams?
No announcements at this point in time, Mayor.
Okay. Any possible updates requested from staff? No info, okay. All right, any possible items you'd like to place on the future agenda? All right, we'll move on to announcements by our council members. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward?
Yes, I attended the Crossfine HOA meeting. It was a real good meeting, and I learned a little bit of Crossfines and some of the things they're putting in, which is a nice touch. I did the retail reception or a site selector reception with EDC, and that was a good event. Did the TML board meeting, and we discussed things that would be going forward as a seek and try passage or just support for different legislation that's going forward. So as the legislature happen, we'll have more coming forward and letting you know what was going on. I did the Holodazzle, and that was pretty cool. I definitely went into the market and found some things that I could use. And pretty much, I think that is all. Oh, and the holiday event for the employees today, that was pretty cool. Nice ambiance, and it was a good employee event, and everyone should have their Christmas ornament on their on the dais. They should have two, one to keep and one to pass out to someone special or a resident. That's all.
Okay. Councilmember Davis.
Yes, sir. I attended both the tree lighting ceremony and the Holodazzle event. Kudos to the staff for both great events and doing well for our residents. Also attended the Housing Authority meeting last night. I do have some information that I will share through the city secretary to all the council members regarding the questions they had on the timeline for the current project. I also have a schematic of what's being proposed. That's a PDF that we'll send that out to everybody, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
Councilmember Whitaker.
I also attended the Crossfine HOA meeting. I attended the First United Bank ribbon cutting. This goes back a ways because it's been a couple weeks. Veterans Day ceremony combined with Cibolo and Schertz. The FM 1103 groundbreaking ceremony, that was very interesting. The Schertz Historical Preservation Committee meeting, as well as the Library Advisory Board Committee meeting, and the tree lighting ceremony, which was great. Love all the new lights on the campus look wonderful, and the new tree is beautiful. I missed the Holodazzle. Little under the weather, so I was very sorry to miss that. And then today, Raising Cane's 10-year anniversary celebration with the Chamber. That is all.
Okay. Councilmember Dalla.
I had a few events as well. Also attended the First United Bank ribbon cutting, the chamber lunch there, the last one a couple weeks ago. Crossvine HOA annual meeting, our city manager reception, introducing our new city manager to everybody, tree lighting ceremony after that, the parade Saturday evening, and finally the UDC subcommittee meeting.
Councilmember Scagliola.
I think the tree lighting stands out the most, and also the welcoming reception for our new city manager, and went off to Canes today for the ribbon cutting. That's about it.
Okay. Councilmember Brown.
Big thanks to the city and all the work that they do for the holidays and making the place look so wonderful and keeping us all happy. So thank you all.
All right, the time is 9:08. We stand adjourned.